Now, as we have seen in our polling, skilling is a subject that's top of mind for all organizations and leaders currently. To share insights on ways that leaders can empower their people and organizations in this space, I'm delighted to welcome Ryan Roslansky and Jared Spataro to the conversation. Hi, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Ryan, I'll start with you. The COVID-19 crisis has undoubtedly accelerated disruptions to the labor market that were already underway, frankly. So what are some of the latest trends that will shape how we think about preparing people for the jobs of tomorrow?
Yeah, Miranda, you are spot on. I mean, COVID has absolutely shaken up the global labor market. But it's in these times of change and uncertainty, the key is to really look forward, look for that opportunity, to look for the objective truth on what's going on. For that, we turn to LinkedIn. Among our 700 million professionals, 50 million companies, 20 million job listings, we understand the connections between those things. It's what we call the economic graph. It provides a ton of valuable insight and data about what's happening across the global labor market. We're seeing three key trends right now. First, probably no surprise to anyone, strong demand for digital skills and the roles that go with digital skills. It makes sense. A lot of people are working remotely. To actually do your job, you need to actually use technology. But also the idea that many jobs and roles and businesses have had to move online during the pandemic. In the old world, maybe you were a marketer at a local business where you had to know how to market your business to the people walking by on the street. Now you have to know how to set up an online store and use the online tools to find customers. So a move towards digitization is the first thing we're seeing. Secondly, probably also no surprise, strong demand across all roles in healthcare and education industries. Healthcare makes sense given the strain that we're currently seeing on the system, but also across the education field, we're seeing a lot of innovation. People can't get together in person to learn, but skills are still critical to learn. So we're seeing a lot of innovation happen in that space and a lot of demand across education. And last but not least, we're seeing some roles just completely disappear. For example, food servers. On the flip side, we're seeing a lot of roles actually surge in demand. For example, customer service. And the light at the end of the tunnel for this, for us, is the understanding that when you look at skills as the currency, there is hope to move forward. So for example, what I just talked about, the average food server on LinkedIn actually has 70% of the skills that you need for an entry-level customer service roles. If we can focus on skills, help people acquire the right skills, it's going to be the right way forward here.
So those real-life examples definitely bring it home. Jared, now to you. How should companies think about closing this learning gap internally by reskilling or upskilling their employees?
Well, first off, it's worth taking a moment just to remind ourselves as to why can be so important for companies. When we find people reskill or upskill their employees, first are happier, well-being is better, and overall organizational productivity goes up. So addressing the skilling gap is just very, very important for organizations of all shapes and sizes. Now, why aren't people doing it if it's that valuable? We recently conducted a survey across 31 countries and over 30,000 people just to understand what's going on. And what we recognize is that people are feeling pretty burned out. In fact, almost 40% of the workforce said that they were absolutely exhausted at their jobs right now. It's hard for them to take time out to go take those courses that could really help them augment their skills. That's where we come in. In February, we introduced a new product called Microsoft Viva. It's an employee experience platform. One component of Viva is to address this learning gap. We're really trying to help employees be able to find the time to gain the skills that they need. And we do that through a concept that we call learning in the flow of work. What we're finding is that if we can get to people right in the flow of where they're getting their work done, particularly in this case in Microsoft Teams, we're able to put that learning in context so that they get exactly what they need. Now, there are two ways to do that. One is that within Teams, we've created a learning hub where we can bring in content from LinkedIn Learning, from Microsoft Learn, from your learning management system, or in fact, from any content source. And then the second very innovative way that we're doing that is we actually put little prompts within your communications, within your email and Teams messages, so that if you run into a concept that you might not understand or want to know more about, you can quickly follow it to the content that's associated with that concept so that you can learn more. So very powerful as we think about being able to learn right there in the flow of work. And that's a way that we think will be a pattern for the future as we try to take advantage of new technology, but also address this ever volatile world.
It's almost like inserting skilling into their day-to-day, making it very practical. Ryan, another question for you. What are the steps that we can take to use technology to reskill the global workforce?
Yeah, technology is key here. If you think about the problem, what we're trying to do is to connect talent, people, with opportunities, the jobs that exist in a world that's been shaken up by COVID at massive scale. So we think first and foremost, the important thing is that everyone is speaking the same language of skills. We've leveraged the LinkedIn Skills Graph and the Skills API made it available for anyone to use. So, any company, any job seeker, any educational institution, so that everyone understands where skill gaps exist, where supply demand exists, can create the right coursework and be speaking the same language globally to try and connect talent opportunity. Once you understand what skills are important and where skills gaps exist, the second most important thing, like Jared was just talking about, is ensuring people have access to the learning content. I spoke about the importance of digital skills previously, and we've made on LinkedIn Learning a free digital skills path for anyone to take to upskill themselves on the skills that are really necessary in the economy right now. Then, last but not least, you need the ability to assess and show that you know those skills. On LinkedIn, we have digital assessments that you can take to show the skills that you have, or you can show your soft skills in our brand new profile cover story feature. And from there, we ensure that all recruiters and hiring managers have the ability to search on skills that they need to fill those roles at their companies. It's just a big game of matching talent opportunity. But that focus on skills as the currency is the key to our path forward here.
Thank you so much to both of you. And before we mentioned that we were going to put together an Avengers League, so we definitely need the both of you on the team, on the Justice League. Thank you. Great insights. And I encourage everyone to look into more of Viva and more of LinkedIn. One of the markets hit by the global pandemic earlier than the rest of the world was Australia. Now, fortunately, it's been successfully tackling some of these challenges head on since this time. To help us learn from their early experiences in the new world of work, we're delighted to welcome Alexandra Badenoch from Australia's largest telecommunications company, Telstra. Alex, it's so great to have you here today. What's the single biggest change, would you say, that you've seen in the way that Telstra approaches skilling over the past 12 months?
I think adoption of technology and particularly around learning, we have seen a huge shift in embracing virtual learning, bite-sized learning, and thinking about how you skill continuously or upskill continuously rather than it be large learning-based events.
And what's the biggest challenge for organizations as they look to precisely upskill their teams?
I think most people who've worked in this space and looking at upskilling workforces have been challenged by how do you schedule things at the right time to suit people, so the actual sort of meeting people's needs at the time that they need it, making sure that it aligns with people's work demands. So if I'm in the middle of a sprint and I've got to focus on that and get the work done, it's not the time for me to be going off and doing several days training. So it's really that sort of practicality approach is consume it anywhere, anytime. But I think the other thing that's really important is how we bring this into providing employees with a clarity of their career pathways. So if I'm in job A today, what are the next 3 jobs that I could actually be doing in the organisation, and using our technology and also using sort of predictive insights to say to someone, the next 3 most logical jobs in the organisation will be these 3, but today you've got these 5 learning gaps that you would need to close to be a strong candidate for that role. So actually then taking the suggestion and linking it to what learning content that people can access.
Practicality and clarity. And Alex, how do you think the past 12 months will inform future thinking about the workplace experience and skilling at Telstra?
Like many organisations, I think we've had to rethink and adjust our delivery of employee experience over the last months or so. We are a company that in many ways is privileged. We're a technology-based company, so our people had the tools, they had the technology, and I think had a culture that was already predisposed to working remotely, working virtually across multiple geographies, across multiple timeframes. But the one thing most leaders and most organisations have experienced is we've never had this sort of intensity of workplace shift. So we have put a lot of focus into building our future workplace experience roadmap, and that really spans everything in our work environment, from the tools and technology that will provide our people both in the workplace and at home going forward, how we blend face-to-face events with virtual events and create that true sort of hybrid experience, which I know many of us are playing with. These are really important shifts in how we work and we want to preserve in a future hybrid workplace. We're looking at what do our physical workplaces look like if people no longer really value them just to come in to plug into a desk, and it's all about teaming and collaboration and celebrating and connecting with others. Do we have the right physical workspaces to really enable that? We're looking at our leaders. What skills and capabilities do they need for the future? So I think at Telstra, and no doubt at every other organisation, that focus on employee experience and workplace experience has never been more important, and one that we need to reimagine and not be looking to how do we go back, how do we get back to where we were, but how do we create something better and different from the learnings that we've had in the last 12 months.